right? So we have All India ranked 782, Lohitaaksha. So
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And so Lohitaaksha, you were part of our 2-year program, right? And you, along with quite a few of your batchmates, they've done well in CLAT, and all of you are headed towards NLUs for sure. So tell us a little bit about your background, like which stream did you pick in 11 and 12, and when did you exactly decide that you're going to pursue law? Was there any other career option which you were considering earlier?
So this is actually like when I was in DPS. I wasn't in Odisha at that time. I was in Kolkata. So there I had a chance, like in class 9, we had a chance to like pick either science or commerce. There was no humanities at the time. So I just went with science. But then on like when I came here, Odisha, I joined CAT, and like 11th grade started. So there was an option to choose humanities, and I did not want to like science was not my thing, and commerce I did not like. There were a lot of complex things in commerce, so that I chose to join humanities. And like law, like I wanted to have a legal career, and it always fascinated me, so I chose law, like chose to pursue law. And so that is why I took humanities, and then I focused on CLAT.
Okay, so you were avoiding complications earlier in your career. You didn't want commerce, you didn't want science. Now you've ended up with a complicated career in law.
Yes, sir.
Right. All right. So yes. So tell me, during this entire 2-year journey, because see, as far as your mocks go, they were not exactly very consistent, right? And
Yes, sir.
I'm sure, of course, you perform well in the actual CLAT. So how did you deal with those ups and downs? In fact, I remember just before CLAT, during that class, your parents had also come to the school. We had a little conversation, and I pointed out to your father that you've improved massively, but yes, you need to breach those 90s and all. So how did you deal with those ups and downs? There were always question marks.
Yes, sir. So I took a look. I took a look at the previous mocks, and then I found out where I lacked. So, like a common area was GK and then maths. But I realized that time was also something like I needed to be like I like manage the time better. So I focused on like I concentrated on GK. I read months, and I started reading newspapers daily, and so that helped me improve. Like I reached 80s like while preparing for GK, so that helped me a lot. And so every mock I would I would get the answer sheet, I would go back home, and then I would like look at the GK, and then that would also help me cover up the GK for that particular month. So whenever I would get a low score, I would check that like if my legal was like consistently like I got 32 to 35 in my legal section, and then English was well. Logic was sometimes it would be good and sometimes it would be bad. So I would look at like what went wrong, and like if I had some doubts regarding that, I would reach out to I put doubts in the group, and so that's how I checked and I analyzed how I did, and then I worked on it.
Lohit, what is happening is I've seen you in school, and you've always been a well-opinionated guy. You know you can talk nice, and you can hold your thoughts and just speak it out. Now, do you think the pattern of CLAT is as such where you are allowed to where you are asked to read 27 to 28 passages and solve it within, let's say, 120 minutes? Does it favor to a person, maybe let's say like you, who has a extracurricular activity oriented personality?
I mean, like the pattern is I find it comfortable. Like in the CL mocks, like I practiced all like those patterns. I felt like it was comfortable to me. So
Right. So, could you just lead us through your mock scores? Like, where did you start? And at the end of when you were about to give the examination, what was the highest point that you reached in the mock score?
So I think my lowest score ever was like before, like on the warm-up clats, I think it was like 23 or something. But then I wasn't really, I wasn't I did not know the pattern. It was my like first raw attempt, and but then eventually I had to get my mock scores up, so I practiced a lot of passages and stuff. So it reached 60 and 70. And then at a point I even reached 80. I think 85 point something was my highest score. So towards the end, it was like more or less consistent, like 70s and 80s. So my highest is of course 85. And
so when you reach this high point, were you at any point of time very confident कि हाँ अब तो हो जाएगा?
I was, I had I had a little doubt of what if the actual CLAT paper might be harder than this or something. I attempted the sample papers as well, from the consortium, and those were like, I got a 90 in the first sample paper, I think, and in the second I scored around 97 or something. So I was like, maybe the actual CLAT paper isn't as hard as the CL mocks that we are giving. So I was a little bit confident that I could do better.
Where were you when the result came in? Like, what was the situation like?
When I got 780.
The rank list.
So I mean, at that point I was like, there's no point to regret. Like, I made while giving the actual CLAT paper, like I made a decision to do maths instead of the last passage of logic. Maybe that affected my rank a bit. Maybe if I had attempted logic, then I could have gotten a better rank. But then I'm still happy that I'm getting an NLU.
Right. So you mentioned earlier about your weaknesses of GK and quants in specific, right? So especially students who are preparing this, because normally everyone comes across one or two weak areas. And then how do you overcome them? Is it something that you stop worrying about, that, see, these are sections I will not score well, so let me focus on my strengths? Or is it that, okay, anyways, I have some strength areas, so let me build on my weak areas, and so that I can have a balanced preparation, and in case CLAT throws any surprises, so I'll be prepared for it. So what exactly was your approach to this?
So as I said, legal was one of my strong points in the paper. So I did legal, and I thought maybe my first approach was that I should work on whatever I'm good at. So I focused on working on legal, but then at a point I reached that I could not, go higher than what I was already scoring in legal. So then I realized maybe if I put a little bit more on GK and quant. So I started doing the workbooks that were provided from quant, and GK I referred to the months, the monthly months were really helpful. So I feel like after a point of time, if you put too much work on your strong points and then you lack in the other sections, then I think that is actually detrimental to you. You should give focus to other sections as well. So you need to prepare for GK and quant. It's not like you can just keep working on your strong points, because at a point of time there is you won't be able to score you won't be able to score more than what you are getting right now. So,
and reading in general, was it always a habit? Was it something that you were fond of, or is it something that you had to develop once you started preparing for CLAT?
Reading was a habit. I used to read books and novels, but for CLAT especially, I started reading more. I practiced passages, and so that was something new.
Okay. Lohit, do you remember the individual scores that you got subject-wise?
In the
actual examination?
Not right now. I haven't I don't remember the.
Okay, now this is something I'm very curious about. Now, majority of people who are preparing from Bhubaneswar, they apparently at the end of it were very serious, and to a point where they were anxious about this exam. Now, to me, Lohit is somebody who's a chill guy, who's school में भी enjoy कर रहा है, CLAT में भी हो गया उसका. So, I mean, let's just admit to the fact that you had a pretty balanced approach. You enjoyed the school part as well, and you participated in a lot of things in school, and yet you made through CLAT. So, in the hindsight, what were your schedule like? What was your timetable like? Like, how much time did you contribute to CLAT, and what were you going through the day?
So, I did not have a specific schedule that I followed every day. So I woke up, we had that seminar with Gautam sir a month before CLAT. So I always had that approach that I'll do GK, I'll do GK first, and then I'll practice some passages. I'll do GK again, I'll then practice again. So that was my approach. I did not stress on one section particularly for 2 hours or 3 hours. I always switched it up so that there is like I have some time to, if I'm fed up doing GK all day or something like that. So I focus on other areas. I solve passages. Maybe that would take my mind off. So.
What? So when you were attempting, let's say, the mocks and then later, of course, in the actual CLAT, did you have a fixed strategy? And how flexible were you with it? As in, if there were any surprises in the paper, would you, of course, improvise or would you stick to your plan?
Yes, so I was strong in legal. So I had this approach that I would do legal first, then GK, then English, then logic, and then maths. So with the actual CLAT paper, also I followed the same strategy. I did, I did legal first, and then I did GK, then English. Then I went to quant and checked like how hard it was and whether I should be attempting quant first or logic first. But then quant was like a bit tough this time, I think. Like some passages were tough, and so I went over to logic. And in my mocks also I practiced this, that I would always at the end I would decide whether I would choose logic or quant, and most of the times I would go with logic. So in the actual CLAT paper also I looked over at the quant section, then I started solving logic, and then at the end I attempted some quant. So that has been my strategy.
So bulk of your preparation, I think, took place during school hours, or was it post school hours as well?
I would say both school hours and post school hours.
So was it more of individual study? Whenever you'd study, you would want to be left alone, or was it because you people had a group, right? And the entire group has done well. So were you also indulging in group study?
I would say except for GK, everything was individual. For GK, we had, some news we discussed with each other, some materials, we printed monthons, and so that was a group effort. Okay. And for the rest, I think it was individual.
Right. So what are the future plans?
So, I mean, I want to do corporate law, of course, and criminal law also has been like, but over these 5 years, I'll, think on like some other options if I have any. Like I'll explore this and see where I fit in properly, and then proceed accordingly.
So flexible as usual. So that is it from my end. So Dipankar sir, if there's anything.
Yeah, just one minute, few questions. Did you read newspaper throughout the preparation or any part of the newspaper?
Yes, I mean, I had subscribed to The Hindu, and so I, every morning I would read The Hindu, but that would kind of like, sometimes it was inconsistent. I would do it for a week, and then there was too much, schoolwork to do, and so I couldn't I didn't have the time to read newspapers. But I guess like the last 3 months, I think I read it consistently, like a week, and then maybe I referred to the month, and then I did newspaper again, and then I related it to the month, and so that
like to
was
the particular part of a newspaper or the entire newspaper.
I mean, the front pages always had like Indian politics and stuff like that, so I put less effort on that, and like I read the world news and sports. I focused on that mainly. And
Lohit, can you debunk the idea about motivation? Apparently, there is this thing about if you prepare for an exam for a year or 2 years, so there is a possibility for burnout as well. Now, for a person like you who is managing school, extracurricular, and CLAT preparation, where was the motivation coming from, or was it probably maybe a bit of discipline and scheduling?
It included a bit of discipline because like with CLAT, I mean, you have to study for boards, but CLAT, you have to put more emphasis like on CLAT because that would decide the next 5 years of your life anyways. So like my approach was I would do schoolwork, and like alongside that I would prepare for CLAT, but towards the end of it I completely focused on CLAT. And for some time my schoolwork was a bit halted. So
right,
I would say like at the beginning of your preparation, you can actually, you can switch between, you can do schoolwork and also alongside that you can do CLAT. But towards the end, I feel like it's kind of a revision. You have to revise everything. You have to practice more, and it's last 3 months, so you have to focus entirely on CLAT.
Right. So before we close, I think I would also like to know what were the reactions, especially from your parents, who were very concerned, and of course the teachers at the school.
So there were mixed reactions.
I understand that.
So there were mixed reactions. I mean, my parents, they of course expected, like, I could have done better, because I went home and I checked the answer key and I was like, oh, I could have attempted this. I could have done a bit better. That was a silly mistake, something like that. So, I mean, overall, I think my parents are happy that I'm getting an NLU, but they wish that I could have done a little bit better. But it's the next 5 years that will decide anyways what happens. So I have to compensate this for, I have to work hard the next 5 years to, compensate for this. So it's not a bad thing. I don't. Yes, sir?
Have you thought about the college that you're getting into with the rank?
I mean, I think it's, yes, I think most likely I'll get NLU, because I in my preference list also I have I have put NLU in 7th position, and so that was I should have I should have researched a bit more about preference list, but I think it's most likely going to be NLU. But then whatever happens in the counseling process, I guess we'll know then what college I'm getting.
Are you sitting for the exam again, probably after joining college or something, or have you decided to continue there?
No, I will continue with whatever NLU I'm getting right now.
Right, Lohitaaksha, thanks for taking out the time and wishing you all the best from our side. I'm sure you'll do very well in your career.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.